Hi, Successfuls. It's Kelly here. We're throwing out the rule book and looking at running a business in a whole new way with Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson. This is the Success Through Community podcast.
Hi, Kelly.
Well, hello there.
How's it going?
It's going. You know this, our listeners don't know this, but like we've been meaning to record this episode for a while, but I've been really sick and I sounded horrible. So it's been like pushing out and out and out. So I'm really excited to like get back into the swing of things and talk about this book.
Finally get her going, eh? You know, I love that you're excited about this book. What I don't love is that I never finished it with all the time we've had putting it off. I was like, oh, I have time.
But
yeah,
that's the problem though, because we've talked about this before. Those deadlines make a big difference in our productivity. And when you think you have all the time in the world, I mean, it's just what happens, right? We're just like, I'll just do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and then tomorrow happens.
Right.
And
then
everything
all of a sudden,
else
it's a
comes
week
with
after
it.
Tomorrow, and you still haven't done it.
You know what? As of recording this too, what is really, really embarrassing is that I even had a whole extra day because it was a leap year. And I still didn't finish this book. Now, let me clarify. It's not that I didn't finish this book because I didn't want to. I think it is an amazing book and I really, really like it. And I plan on finishing it. It's just life had other plans for me. And the book Rework by Jason Fried. Fried? I think it's Fried. Fried. Yeah, so life got in the way, but I did read enough of this book.
It looks like there's another author on there too, though, yeah?
Yes, I apologize. Of
course, it's a harder name to say, so good luck with that.
Which is probably why I blocked it out, because I'm going to embarrass myself, and I'm going to apologize in advance for anybody with this last name, and to David directly, Mr. David Heinemeier Hansson?
Heinemeier, I would say.
Heinemeier?
Yeah.
All right.
Very German.
So let's start again. The book I'm reading is Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson.
There you go.
That felt very commercial. I liked it.
Yes.
Good to go.
I'm going to have to say it too, because I did it. I'm going to be doing it for the intro. So, we both have to stumble over these names.
Practice makes perfect.
Yes.
David Heinemeier Hansson.
There you go. Hey, that
Please come to the front desk.
Commercial. Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, so tell me, like, rework. What does that mean?
Rework. Well, I think it's basically revisiting and tossing out the old school way of thinking and revisiting and reworking everything. So I found this book extremely refreshing because, well, it was refreshing for me because I think that the philosophy behind it is that anybody can start a business and that they can do it with fewer resources than you would actually think you would need. And it reminded me, and actually it encourages the reader to go about it in a much simpler way. And just to, you know what? It basically says, let it be easy.
Oh, well, now I have to read the book.
Yeah, it's quite nice that it's just kind of go for a simpler, cheaper, less labor intensive way to start and manage a company. And it's so refreshing to see something like this, especially in today's world when everybody's like, buy my product, do what I did, and use this program because I'm an affiliate, and use that program. Like everybody's out to take your money.
Yep.
And these guys were like, you don't need to. You can be smart, you can be frugal, and you can run your business like a well-oiled machine and embrace simplicity at the same time and still be successful, which is so nice.
Sounds like a book I have to read now because that's like 100% my philosophy.
Yeah. So when I see, that's not why I picked up the book. Actually, I'm not even going to lie about it. Well, if I'm honest, I chose the book because of the cover. I am that person who does judge a book by its cover. We've had this conversation.
Yeah.
The cover is just a black cover with a simple crumpled up sheet of paper. It's not overdone. It's just a crumpled up piece of paper and the words rework.
Just like going back
And
to the drawing board kind of vibe.
yes, it
Yeah.
signified to me to like just scrap the old way of thinking and just start over. And I really, really liked that. And that's what drew me in was the cover. And then on the cover, there's also a really great a referral. And the referral is Ignore This Book at Your Own Peril by Seth Godin. And I'm going,
Oh.
oh, well, maybe this is a purple cow.
Yeah, it might just be.
maybe. But it just seemed like a pretty intense referral for me. And I was
Well,
like, okay,
yeah,
I'm getting
and
this.
from somebody that you already like and you already listen to his philosophy like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hard
Which
when you
kind of
get
pulls you in, right?
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you see a referral from someone that you're like, "Ah, crap, cuz I like him, so of course I'm going to like these people."
Right. And you
Yeah.
know, it's so nice to see. Uh, like it was really smart of them to to go, hey, Seth,
Yeah,
would
for
you read my
sure.
book, please? Right? Like
For sure.
really, really smart. And but I don't know if they did. I don't know how it worked, how they got Seth's referral, but I think it's probably one of the things that really skyrocketed this book because.
Oh, yeah.
But don't get me wrong, the book itself is amazing. I mean, right out of the gate, it talks about ignoring the old school way of thinking and ignoring all the old myths about running a business, such as like don't listen to the naysayers. And there's one little topic in there where it talks about failure and how failure is not your teacher. And I was floored by that. I
Whoa.
really, really like that philosophy.
Can
And
we dive more
basically,
into that because
yes,
I feel like that concept is so hammered into us that fail
it
forward
is.
and fail, productively. I mean, there's a million different ways that it gets said, but like and to an extent, I agree with it
Hmm.
if you are analyzing and learning from your failures. But I'm really curious how they're reframing it and like yeah, I want to know more about that.
Yes, we could do that. No problem. So one of the big things about the failure is not your teacher. I'm just trying to find my notes on that right now. But um, when they talk about failure not being your teacher, it's basically saying that when you fail, it's teaching you what not to do, as opposed to
Teaching you
how do I
what to do.
as yeah, like it teaches you to learn from your mistakes, which we already know, because
Right.
in reality mistakes don't teach us anything useful. They just tell us what we should not have done,
Right.
and so
Right.
therefore you don't repeat that mistake again. But it doesn't, but if you look at it the way of failure is not your teacher, it's telling you, instead of repeating the mistake again, it's telling you what you should do instead of what you shouldn't do. Right. So it's a
Right.
mindset thing, right? It's just flipping the switch on thinking, okay, I learned that I do not tie my shoelaces tight enough. So it's one of
Right.
those
Right.
things where I'm going, now what should I do? Tighten them, not what I should not do. I don't know, I'm not making any sense. It's been
No,
a
no, no,
long
it
day.
does make sense, but it kind of reminds me of like our last episode on the unsold mindset where they were talking about like, obviously you're going to make mistakes in sales conversations right and left, but never make the same mistake twice. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
similarity I think for what they're saying to what I already forgot their names, Colin and the other guy. I'm sorry.
Jason and
Garrett.
David.
Garrett. No, 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 no.
Oh,
Unsold mindset. I was talking about unsold mindset.
right, right, right,
It's
right.
similar to what they were saying, is what Jason and David
Yeah.
are saying.
Yeah. Yes, very similar. Like build on what works, not
Right,
on what doesn't. And
right.
if it works for you in your business, keep doing it. Learn from success, not from failure.
Yeah,
So finding what is working and repeat, not finding what isn't working and tweak, right?
yeah.
So that's one of those principles that they cover, and they go deeper into it, of course. They
Of
go
course.
down a rabbit hole. And the book also, the way these guys wrote this book is so relatable to me. As you know, I do not have a very professional tone when I speak. I just say what's on my mind, and I kind of find that these guys do that as well, without being crass. I know I can be, but without being crass. But they're just so straightforward. There's no fluff.
Yeah.
There's no filler. It's just the point, and
Yeah.
which I really, really like, right?
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, so it goes on with things like, I don't know, work smart, not hard, which is a big thing that we always talk about. And that,
Mhm.
like, you already know, we're in a world towards my mindset and beliefs are shifting towards all of those things of making your life simpler, of working smarter, not harder. And, you know, I've said it before, I live in a town where people live to work. And it's I'm at that point where I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I just want to work to live. I don't want to say the bare minimum to live my life, but I do not want to have a life where I am working 40 to 80 hours a week just so I can go on vacation and escape my work life. Right. So
Yeah.
that is one of those things that they kind of bring into the forefront when you're running your business is just keep it simple. And the simpler it is, the easier it's going to be, which you're going to love it more. So you're going to put more into it and it'll be more successful just organically. Right.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because when you're talking about that whole concept of living to work versus working to live and all of that, so the next book, not the next, a future book, let's just put it that way, a future book that I
Hmm.
am reading. And it's one that I've read before, so like I'm kind of refreshing and whatever and starting to follow on Instagram the author, so I'm starting to see some of his like quotes in random places now. It would be Brendan Burchard. If you don't already know
Right.
him,
Yep. Yep.
find him, follow him. He's amazing. But there's a quote that I recently saw that I loved so much that I had to like grab a pen and jot it down in the moment that I saw it so I wouldn't forget it. And it totally fits what you are just talking about right now about this like simplifying and, not working the bare minimum, but like finding ways to work smarter so that you
Hmm.
don't have to work harder. And the quote that he said, and I'm going to give you a minute to like soak this in because it's such a simple quote, but like it is so profound. He
Bring
says,
it.
our busy work isn't always our life's work.
Oh, yes.
And I was
Because
just
we're
like,
always trying to be
dude,
busy.
yeah. I mean, how
Yeah.
often, I mean, and this is a topic we've definitely, I don't know if we've talked about it so much on the podcast, but we've certainly talked about it and in the mastermind for sure. But like talking about how, when people say, oh, how are things going, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so busy. We
Yeah. They wear it
wear
like a
that
badge of honor.
like a badge of honor when in
Yeah.
reality, like for me at least, the goal that I have is that I can say like, oh, actually, things are great. I, took 3 days off last week and just hung out with my husband and whatever. And
Hmm.
yet, like for me, it's like the concept of success is not like, oh, I'm so frazzled and I'm always working all the time and I'm just so in demand. To me, success is I'm paying all my bills and I'm still able to show up and be present for stuff.
Yes.
That's success. And that's where this concept of our busy work isn't always our life's work was just like, whoa, that was a
Love that.
mic drop moment if
Okay. Wait.
ever I saw one.
Can that be the title of the podcast? Or are you doing that book later?
Well, I see that's the thing is I don't think that quote is from the book I'm doing. I think it's
Oh,
just because I
might
started
steal it.
following him, I like caught the so I say we could use it, but we
Why
definitely
not?
need to credit Brendan and not Jason and David for
Yes,
that
yes.
because it's
That's
definitely
true. That's
Brendan.
true.
Yeah.
We'll put that. Yeah. Okay. Set.
Yeah, but it's a
We'll
good one,
table
right?
that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a good one.
really good one. It also it kind of leads into me for one of the chapters in this book. Like I know I said I didn't finish the book and I own that and I'm disappointed in myself, but
Oh, stop.
I'll get
It's
over
fine.
myself.
You're
It'll be
fine.
fine. One of the chapters in this book really gave me an aha moment, and it's not anything that we haven't already discussed. And your quote there is a perfect segue because it was what they wrote. It was written in such a way that it truly connected with me. And I'm going to dive into that. It's just chapter 4 because it encourages that you run your company with enough in mind. Does that sound familiar at all?
Oh, yes, Brene Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Brene Brown, Paul Jarvis, like
Yeah, true. Paul
everybody's, it
Jarvis too.
seems to be, I don't want to say it's a growing trend,
No,
but
but
it
it's
does seem to
definitely
be,
popping up a lot. And
it is.
like
And
I think we talked about this year, but like you know
yeah,
how the concept of like word of the year or phrase of the year,
yeah.
people do stuff like that. Well, I hadn't really been thinking about that for this year until one of my local friends and business owners and one of our former clients was going to do a painting party, and it was like a word of the year painting party. And I was like, well, I don't
Okay.
have a word for the year. And then I
Mm,
thought about it and I went, yeah, I do. So I painted a sign that just says enough,
enough. Yeah.
because that
I love
word
that
just
sign tag,
won't
actually.
stop coming up for us while we're
Hmm.
recording all this stuff. So, and it's like
Yeah.
from totally random books too. So I love it.
Yeah. The thing about it is I think that society, and I'm going to go back a generation here. If we think about our parents, and uh, they are of the generation where there never seemed to be enough, where it was always, I need a bigger house, I need a nicer car, I need more vacations, I need more clothes, I need more shoes. There just wasn't enough. And it was always that whole, what's that saying? Keeping up with the
Keeping up with the
Joneses.
Joneses. Oh my gosh, I was literally just thinking that. I
Yeah.
was gonna say it. That's funny.
That's it's kismet. We're just meant to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm learning that that was, our parents' generation, and there's nothing wrong with wanting more. There's nothing wrong with wanting a fancy car and a huge mansion and a private jet. Like, good on you. If that is your goal, work hard and get it. There's nothing wrong with it, because that is your enough, right? Everybody has that line that they need to reach. And that just seems to be where our generation is kind of going, okay, I get it. I am surrounded by clutter. I am surrounded by everything. I'm constantly being sold to. I can't listen to the radio. I can't listen to a podcast. I can't, sorry, I can't listen to,
Except for this
the only thing you,
podcast, because it's totally
yeah,
different.
the only thing you can listen to really is, a record, because there's no commercials on a record.
Right.
And I think we are tired. And I think that's why these books are constantly coming up. Not coming up with this, but I think that's why they're really trying to send that message out, is that
Well, but what's
we need to
interesting is,
stop.
like, we've talked about this, like most of the books that we've been reading for the podcast are old though. Or like not, I don't want to say old, but they're not like super current. So it's like
Right.
these people have been talking about this for quite some time. We're just
Still
kind
our
of
generation
starting
of
to,
people, though.
yeah, it's still our generation of people, but it's just like we're just starting to kind of clue in on it. But
Yeah.
to be fair though, I do think we have our own version of keeping up with the Joneses, and it's
Yes, we do.
it's more of keeping up with the influencers. But the thing
Mm,
is, the influencers, and sorry for anyone listening who's an influencer, but it's a lie. It is a straight up lie,
a lot of
okay?
it is, yeah.
When you're talking about, keeping up with the Joneses for our parents' generation, you're talking about the next door neighbor. You see their life, you see their car, you know the realities. But when you're talking about social media and like trying to keep up with the lifestyle that they're portraying, I mean, how many times have we seen the comparison videos of like Instagram versus reality? You know what I mean? Like, good on the people who are actually showing the reality side, but I think
Hmm.
we have a natural tendency to try to keep up with the Instagram side.
But
And it's
even
this like
even so,
false relaxation though, right? It's this
yeah.
false sense of I have all the time in the world. It's like, no, they
Mm,
don't. They're running
hmm.
around town trying to get these videos or these images that they're posting. They're
Well, that's just
busy.
it. But when you're looking at even those who are posting Instagram versus reality, they're influencers in their own way.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
just trying to
absolutely.
change the message, right? So those guys are still doing all the hard work to get their message out there. And
For sure.
and we have our own, our generation has our own issues with the tissues. I'm not saying we are not.
I love that phrase.
We by far have our own. But I think that coming from being raised to always want more, and that there is never enough. I mean, I'm turning 50 soon, and it's only taken me until now to go, "Oh my goodness, why am I surrounded by so much stuff? Why am I constantly breaking my back for more, 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 more?" I am so happy with what I'm doing and how I'm living, and I want less. And you don't see that as often, where people are like, "Okay, I need less. I want less. I'm so happy where I am," without the fancy cars and without the mega trips and concerts. I'm so happy in my own bubble that I found my enough. And that's where I'm going to aim and strive to be, with a little bit more so I still have my enough when I plan to retire.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's kind of the goal for me, and that is my goal for everybody, is to find their enough and not to bust their back and miss out on life trying to achieve it. Because how many of us have missed how many years with our kids, with, just our partners, or just, ourself, just to be able to just sit down and read a book in the past 3 weeks on a bonus day during the year and not having that time
Yeah.
is one thing. But choosing to not read the book because, you know what? I have a bonus day. I am going to watch Veronica Mars instead. That
Yeah.
is what I did. And I'm okay with that. And I hope you are too, my partner. I love you.
Of
And
course.
our
Of course.
listeners here. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, it's finding that and going with it. And the book really pushes that, in the sense that finding your enough and moving ahead with less is okay. Recognize that constraints are healthy and they are good for you, that you don't always have to strive for more, and you don't always have to, like, bigger is not better. It can
Right.
be for some, but this book really emphasizes that it is not for everybody,
Well,
and
and I
that
think
you
I was just gonna
go
say, I
ahead.
think that's the key right there, right? Is that
Hmm.
your enough is your enough. It doesn't matter what anybody else's is.
Exactly.
Right?
And
Stop comparing what your enough is. If you like, just because your enough doesn't include a private jet, for example, since you use that example,
mhm,
it doesn't mean that you're less successful, right?
exactly.
It just means that you defined success differently. And honestly, you're probably going to reach success faster if you're not aiming for a private jet. It's just my
If
personal take
Yeah,
on that.
just a
But
little bit faster. And if you're not always striving for more, if you kind of
right.
embrace the enough mindset and you embrace the simplicity and bigger is not better, you will find your success, whatever you're doing, and your happiness that much faster.
Yeah, and
They
fulfillment.
actually, pardon?
And fulfillment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Purpose,
Yep.
right? You're
Yep.
going to get that purpose is going to be fulfilled. One of the things in the book too is when they talk about it, they use a perfect example. Speaking of private jets, I just kind of remembered this. So one very, very successful airline, now they're not in Canada. They fly to Canada, but they're not available. They're not in Canada, is Southwest Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have WestJet, which is modeled after Southwest, but they use Southwest as a perfect example of enough and bigger is not better, because apparently, I didn't know this till I read the book, Southwest Airlines only flies Boeing 737s. They do not have any other kind of plane. That is
Okay.
it.
I
If
believe
you're on
that.
a Southwest airline, that's the plane you're on. And the purpose is because every plane is going to have the same parts,
So
right?
they can, their
Every
maintenance
crew
is
member,
cheaper.
yeah, every
Yeah.
crew member knows how to work any flight and any airplane.
He's smart.
It is so simple, and it's simpler to manage, and it's a lot less expensive to maintain those planes when you're not having to buy 100 different parts for 100 different planes. Like, it's just, and I'm assuming they're successful because I know who they are.
Yeah.
I've seen the
They are
TikToks with their
successful. But but as a, I mean, I'm not a frequent flyer, but as a customer, um I'm not a huge fan of being on Southwest flights. I mean, they're great because they're a great price, and if you're just going from like quick little here to there, like sure, keep it
I was
cheap.
gonna say, aren't they a budget airline? Yeah.
Very much so,
So,
yeah. But
yeah.
like it shows, if that makes sense. So I think there's like a balance. You know what I mean? Of
Hmm.
like the concept, the philosophy behind everything that you're describing, that that they're saying, of how they keep their costs down and all of that, is brilliant. But
Hmm.
I think that you balance that with some aspect of the experience. Like, you keep the cost of the physical parts and the training of your employees and all of that, but like, I don't know, I feel like you can, at least my experience, you can feel it in the friendliness, I guess, of
Hmm.
the people working there. And I think I mean, obviously the plane is smaller. So like if you're on that versus
Mm,
like a Delta flight, obviously you're going to feel that. But that's the physical aspect of it. If you're paying way less, it's worth it. You're fine with the cramped space, whatever. But I've never had super friendly flight crew. So I feel
wow,
like
that's
they
interesting.
could like maybe throw a little extra since their people don't have to learn how to do things on multiple airlines or airplanes. Like, I don't know, work on the interpersonal skills
Bedside manner, yeah.
a little bit. Yeah.
Um, so what you're saying there, you're like the segue queen for me. You know that? Anyone
You're
ever tell
so
you that?
welcome. I
Miss
haven't
Segue
yeah,
Queen.
you've told me that more than once. So that's awesome.
Okay, well, I bow to thee. I'm gonna buy you a tiara for your birthday.
Okay.
Um, so with you telling me that you've never really had a pleasant experience with that specific airline, I kind of think that that's an airline thing. They can get away with whatever they want. The rules don't apply to them. Customer service is not a priority. And
Mhm.
what it comes down to is when whoever started that company, they basically lost the core purpose of their business, unless it was just to go and make money and not care about anybody, which most airlines do. So I think that one of the principles that they talk about in the book is to stick to the core of your business. And then that way you can have that model for success and the simplicity. But when you let the core of your company be what runs your company and it drives you for all decisions, and like, for example, if you open up a flower shop, you focus on the flowers, not the vases or the wrapping, right? There's always going to be other stuff, but
Right.
sticking to the core, which would have been customer service and getting people from point A to point B, is no longer a thing.
Well,
And
see,
that's
I'm not
why,
sure customer service ever would like I mean, I don't know their core
oh,
values or their whatever,
true.
but I
Me
would
either.
guess based on the marketing that I've seen and based on just my experiences, I would guess that their core value is all about keeping it affordable and cost down. And
Yeah.
to that end, I would say they are successful and they are keeping with that core principle. But I also
There you
think that
go.
there's more to life than keeping the cost down. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade at Southwest. It's just not my cup of tea, personally.
Grow shade.
Yes,
Grow
I'll sure
shade,
I'll throw a
because
little.
no
No,
business
but
is perfect.
no,
But
no
yeah,
business
I
is
get it.
perfect. And but I mean, I think their core value, if their core value is not just keeping the cost down, and if they do have customer service as a core value, then I think they have missed the mark. But if their core values are not based on that, and they're just focused on keeping their prices down, well, yeah, they're doing that. So I mean, that's good. And flights are so expensive. You got to have an
Mm,
option that is affordable. So it is a necessary, addition to the market for sure.
absolutely. And the thing is airlines are a touchy company to talk about, because the rules don't apply to them, because they're almost a necessity. They're almost,
Yeah, it's like a
needed in
monopoly
today's world.
to an
Yeah,
extent. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are so many those budget friendly airlines that start and never get anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. We actually just, and oh, this is really upsetting, and you can probably find it on the news. A budget airline here in Canada, I do not know if they're Canadian or not. I don't know where they came from, but they just announced recently that they're shutting down as of February 29th. So the end of the day, that they're no longer going to be running. So if you had a flight past February 29th, sorry,
You're getting
right?
a
Like,
refund though, right?
but well, here's the thing. No. And
What?
this is what's so upsetting is a friend of mine, um shout out to you, Jen. A friend of mine was getting the Mom of the Year award because she was planning her daughter's 13th birthday, and her daughter didn't want a big party or anything like that. Her daughter wanted something simple to hang out with mom. So as you know, we live close to Banff and Canmore and Kananaskis. It's all mountainy and skiing and stars, and it's beautiful and it's amazing, but it is not cheap. Not cheap by any means.
No.
It's like, if you're lucky, you can get a room in one of those places for $400 a night.
Yeah.
So my friend was pricing it all out, driving out there, dinner out there, doing things like going on a skywalk and going on some little adventures with her daughter and hotel rooms. And it came to the equivalent of taking her daughter to California and going to Universal Studios for a day.
Holy crap. That's
Right?
ridiculous.
So what do you think she did?
Well, yeah, she got the flight to California. Why wouldn't you?
Darn Skippy, that's what she did. And especially since her daughter is turning 13 and is just starting to obsess with Harry Potter,
Yeah, that's
she's
totally the
going,
way to go. Yep.
we are so going to Universal. So she books it on a Thursday. She booked the flights on a Thursday to leave in June. They were going to leave on a Thursday, come back on a Monday, right? Everything's booked, and she's just so excited. And she's not going to tell her daughter until an hour before they leave. So Friday comes around, and I saw an announcement that the airline she booked on is shutting down. So less than 24 hours after they took her money, they're like, yeah, we're filing Chapter 11 and stopping all operations.
Oh, that's messed up. So they already
Excuse
knew
me?
and they were still taking that.
There's
messed up.
no way they didn't know. And that is, I messaged her and I'm like, I am so sorry. You need to call your credit card company immediately and get that reversed, because it could be quick enough that you're not going to have a fight on your hands.
Right.
But she didn't get that message.
Intentionally not saying the airline? Are we trying to be nice? Because I'm curious now.
Well, I never even thought of that. No, it doesn't matter, right? You can find it in the news. It was Lynx Air, LYNX.
Okay, I don't know it.
Do you
so
know
it
of
must
them?
be Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah, must be because, and they've been around for a little while, and they were a budget airline, small planes that felt like it was going to fall apart when it got a little bit of turbulence.
Which is surprising that they would fly to California from Canada, though, because like usually those smaller planes, like they do like, I don't want to say puddle jump because that's even smaller, but like they don't do such long flights usually.
It's only like 2.5 hours, right, from us.
Yeah, well, I guess
So I
that's
guess
true.
it depends on what side of Canada you're on.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, but you know,
yeah, that's messed up. I would be
that's shady.
Certainly, yeah, because I mean, it's one thing if like it was even a month before, like maybe they were still trying to pull it through, but we're talking days. There's no way they didn't know.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's messed up. I would be so mad. This is how not to run your business, people. Like there is no way that I mean, obviously they're out of business now, but like if any of those decision makers become like a CEO of another business, watch out, because they're just gonna have the same shady perspective.
And that's a whole other thing. How do these guys, gals, persons, how do they get rehired at another company?
Yeah, usually because they push blame of why they went Chapter 11 on somebody before them.
You know, I think they talk about that in the book too. Owning up to your own mistakes. I mean, come on. Nice. Accountability is a thing. It's a huge thing. I mean, an airline going under cannot really fall on the fault of any one person. But that being said, that is why anybody in the C-suite, your chief executive, anything, gets paid the big bucks to be the fall guy in the event. They're the decision makers. They are the face. So
well, and that's why they get paid big money. Like, yeah, you can't blame it on any one person that the business is going down, but what you can blame is their business practice from the moment they knew they were going down to the moment they made it public that they were going down. That they could have quietly stopped posting, stopped putting flights on all the sites where you can buy flights, right? They can quietly do that before they make their public announcement. That's the thing that I have issue with. Like, if businesses are going to go out of business, it happens, right? But like integrity in those moments, even if it's like, well, we haven't done our press release. Okay, but like behind the scenes, quietly, you can stop taking people's money.
Yep. You can put an error message on your own website when someone tries to buy a flight. Sorry, 404. That page doesn't exist. Exactly. I digress. We don't need to complain about that. No, but that's, you know what?
But that's an important thing, though, because that's talking about business integrity in general. Like, obviously
And
at a much higher level than
yeah,
us or our listeners or whatever, but that level of integrity needs to be there no matter how big your business is.
exactly. And the one thing, and when I was talking to her, because I sent her the message and she's like, "What are you talking about?" She didn't get it. She's like, "What's going on?" And so I called her and I told her, and she was freaking out. She was so excited about this trip. Good thing she hadn't told
Yeah.
her daughter. But then I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it, because I guarantee there is going to be at least one other airline that is going to step up and say, "Let me solve your problem.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot go as cheap as they did, but I can give you a discount, or I can offer this, or I can do that." And sure enough, um, WestJet, which is a actual small airline, it's the one that was based off of Southwest
Southwest.
Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
So WestJet ended up they did a press release. So, like, look, if you have a flight that we can accommodate, that we make, like from Calgary to Los Angeles or whatever, we will give you 25% off. And then not only did they do that, but then they actually even just dropped the cost of the flight in general. So it was 25% off of the new price.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, that's
who
nice.
just found a whole new schwack of customers,
Yep, exactly.
right?
And that's how you jump on that and you grab those customers and bring them over
Yeah,
to you is by thinking
absolutely.
long term. That would be an infinite minded move, I'm just going to say,
Mm-hmm.
of thinking like, yeah,
Absolutely.
we're going to lose a little money in the short term doing this,
Mhm.
but think about not only the good press, but also like now all these new customers, to your point, that are going to come to us first because of how well we treated them in a really crappy situation. That was
Yep.
very smart, WestJet. I like that.
Very smart, WestJet. Exactly. And it's one of the, like, the book, back to the point of the conversation. One
It's
of the things that the
related.
book
It's all related.
it is. It's all related,
Not a
but it talks
tangent.
about trying to not how did they put it? Try to not buy a solution to your own problem. Don't just throw money at a problem. Don't
Mm,
just throw personnel at a problem. Don't ignore a problem, right? Don't try to solve your problem that way. No gadgets, no shortcuts, no expensive fix, no keep snaking money out of people knowing full well you're not
mm-hmm.
going to help them is going to save you, right? So
Yeah.
it's, oh my goodness, this Monday in the mastermind, we're talking about um, where profits and morals meet. And honestly, I've been trying to work on it thinking, okay, what am I going to talk about? I think I just found my topic.
I think you did. That's a pretty solid example right there.
Very much so. So that's none of that's going to save you. And even if you're not, coming across a major problem, the book kind of preaches. I don't want to say preaches, but the book really encourages and tells the message of you can do it without all of the gadgets. Like, you do not need to spend an infinite amount of money on something because you think you need it or you're being sold to that you need it.
Right. Well, and the point, the way I kind of see it a little bit from what they're saying is throwing money at the problem isn't going to change the root cause. If you throw the money
Yes,
at the problem and you fix it in the meantime, you're just going to end up running into a similar problem down the line because you haven't fixed what broke it in the first place, right? So
exactly.
that's where, to me, like the concept of the rework is like, okay, well, that didn't work. So let's throw out that idea and figure out a new, better way to do that so
Yeah,
that we don't run into the same problem again.
exactly. And do it with what you have,
Right.
in the essence that, sometimes you will need to spend a little bit of money. It's not that you don't, they're telling you not to. They're just saying, put your best foot forward first. And
Right.
don't buy a solution to your problems, because a quick fix or a quick gadget is not going to make a success, because down the road, as you've mentioned, it's not going to solve all your business problems, because that problem will arise again if you're just basically putting a band-aid on it with something that costs you a fortune.
That's right. If you're gonna invest money in fixing a problem, invest money in finding a new way to approach it, not
Hmm.
in just, like you said, putting a band-aid on it and making it go away. Because
Yep,
it's always gonna come back around for sure.
exactly.
Interesting. Oh, I like this. I
See,
like
this
this
book has
book.
got, and the thing about it too is these chapters, they're not long drawn out chapters. They're short, they're sweet, they're to the point. And I think I'm probably going to get the audio version of it so I can listen to it. I
Yeah.
did try. Okay, in my defense of not finishing the book, I did try to find I tried to find a cheaper version of an audio. And if you I have this thing about hoarding credits on Audible. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm
But
becoming that person thanks to you, by the way.
you're welcome. Yeah. If you do not want to spend the money and have the patience of a saint, there are a couple of versions of audio versions of this book out there. So on YouTube, there is an AI version of somebody reading it,
Hmm.
which is painfully obvious, like 1990s AI reading.
Oh, ouch. I couldn't do it.
So
I couldn't do it.
not by any means what you would expect AI to do today. And I personally, I struggle with accents. I mean, I
Mm.
married a Lebanese man, and my mother-in-law has the thickest Arabic accent, and she's been my mother-in-law for 30 years, and I still have to ask her to slow down. But there is another version of it there, where there is a gentleman with an accent. It sounds Middle Eastern. It's exotic to me. I don't know where he's from or who he is, but he reads it, and he reads it very well, but I struggle with understanding it. So if you do not have that kind of incapability of understanding accents, then that is a great way to listen to it as well without, spending an arm and a leg. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of it, but I kept having to go back and go, what was that word he said? And
Well,
Sal, my husband, just sat there and he's like, this is why you don't talk to my mother, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, kind of.
that's funny. Well, it's funny though because like I started getting, some audiobooks for the purpose of, listening to things for the podcast because I thought, "Oh,
Right.
it'll be so much faster for me if I get the audiobook." And I'm actually starting to learn it's slower for me because
Really?
yeah. And I think it's because well, A, I'm a really fast reader. So
Mm,
when I'm physically reading a book, like I could get through a page in half the time. Even when I do the 1.2 or 1.5 times, like I just faster than them. It's just my brain goes
yeah,
faster than my ears, I guess.
I do that too. Yeah.
But my problem is that when I'm listening to a book, because I can't just stop and highlight or underline, I have to like take copious notes. So I can't just listen
Rewrite
to
it.
something while I'm doing other things. I literally have to stop and sit and have a notebook. And it's like, well, this is besides the point of why I wanted
That's amazing.
audiobooks. So
That's
like
amazing.
I'm just going to have to spend the money and get the book so that I can actually just write in the margin or highlight or whatever because it's so much faster for me.
Yeah, and you know what? This book is no bigger than a notebook. Like it's a great little handy book that it's
Yeah.
just in my backpack. Carry it everywhere, never read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, with the audiobooks though, I'm not that way in the essence that it takes longer because I do listen to them on like 1.75 speed, depending on the reader, or sometimes two. But like I've mentioned it before, when I listen back to our podcasts and I have it on 1.5 speed, I sound like a chipmunk on caffeine, and you sound so normal to me. And I'm going, okay, there is really something wrong with me because everything it's we wanted to watch what was the movie? I just have this is funny. I watched Captain Marvels or The Marvels, the one with the three girls in it,
Okay.
and Aquaman in the same day because I watched both of them on 2 times speed. And a Marvel movie has never been so enjoyable.
I've never ever thought
I
about watching a movie like sped
loved
up
it.
like that. I have
Oh,
never
I
thought of doing that.
loved it. It was the best
Interesting.
movie ever because it was like over in 30 minutes. And I was
Ah,
going, yay,
that
this
is
is
so
great. I
interesting. I
enjoyed it.
didn't even
Yeah.
think of that as like a possibility, but I guess it makes sense.
You know, especially with Aquaman, it was Aquaman 2. I really didn't have any interest in watching it, but my interest in that was 100% Amber Heard. I wanted to see if they cut her out. And
Okay.
so I watched the whole thing. It was exactly what I expected it to be, with
Sure.
more Amber Heard than I expected it to be. But watching it on high speed made it so much more enjoyable because those fight scenes get dragged out,
Yeah, they
and
do.
you know what I mean? Like it's just so nice to watch them. Bam, bad guy wins. It's so great. Sorry.
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna have to try that sometime.
Um,
Just for fun.
okay. We have kind of tangent a little bit on this
Just a little
podcast
bit.
quite a bit. So I am going to say that I think Rework is a great book to read if you are looking to simplify your business. And it doesn't tell you how to, but it does give you the inspiration to find a way to find your good enough, even for problem solving in your business. What's a good enough solution? It doesn't have to be a perfect solution. It has to be a good enough solution to keep you moving forward, to keep that momentum going. And I think that this book is I really do suggest that it be read by every entrepreneur, big or small. And I agree with Seth Godin, and I've only read half the book, that avoid this book at your own peril. I mean, if you are a business owner, I really do suggest this book as a read for, finding that good enough solution and reworking how you do things so that your life is simpler, happier, and just better.
If you guys want to connect with us on social media, Jolene, do you want to tell them how they can do that?
Sure. You can follow us on Instagram at Success Through Community, or join our free or paid communities over at Patreon, which is patreon.com/STC Productions.
The best way that you can support the podcast is to make sure that you are subscribed wherever you're listening and leave us a review. That's the only way that new people will find and join our community. The Success Through Community podcast is hosted by Kelly Gable and Jolene Mills, and all episodes are solely the opinions of the respective host. Our sound production and editing is done by Kelly Gable, and all visual creative, including our logo, was created by Jolene Mills. The Success Through Community podcast is an STC production.